Welcome back, investors. I'm Doug.
And I'm Dr. Quentin Florence. This is DR Dialogue, where conviction drives change so your money can do better.
We're thrilled to continue our conversation with you. If you're tired of conventional thinking and being boxed into a comfort zone with your investments, you're in the right place, and we're happy that you're here.
Yes, we are. On today's show, we're picking up where we left off. There are so many topics that we didn't get to cover during our first kickoff episode, so we're going to dive deeper today.
Love that. Love that. Yeah, so, this is the episode about investment or investor motivations. What
Mm.
is it that's driving? What is it behind investments? And, talk about courageous alternatives to kind of the standard bill of fare that seems to be happening in the investment world.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this episode because I think our audience will get to learn more about us and can't wait to kick off with this question. And I get to ask you this one, Doug.
Of course.
Can you just tell us a little bit more about your investment journey? And in particular, tell us what motivated you early on in your
Hmm.
investment world.
Yeah, I've been in the investment business for over 40 years now. And I say the investment business because that question that you ask is interesting because I can look at it from two lenses. One lens is Doug, the father, the husband, the provider for his family and how I invest personally. But on the other side, it's also my profession.
Mm.
That's the area where I spend my time and help others achieve their financial goals. So, the the interesting thing about me is even though investments is my profession, I've never really been one of those I can't get enough of this investment information that's available out there in the world. It's always been just a tremendous industry and one that really allowed me to help others fulfill their needs. But I think on the investment business profession standpoint, I think I operate more from a logical, fact-based, look at the data and make decisions that way and help others because that's the way the institutional investment background that I've had is really oriented is towards the fact-based and looking through the rearview mirror at past performance. But on the personal side, as a husband, I have to provide, and I am really looking forward to an unbelievable ladder in my life that I've been able to provide for my family, my wife specifically, that we can truly enjoy the benefits of years of labor. And so, in that arena, I tend to invest more like a 19-year-old. I mean, all the data says, as you age, here's the way you should invest. And I just never really go that way. I just always am full pedal, throttle down. Let's get what we can. And just ride the markets that way. So I'm a little bit foot in kind of, split decisions. Am I making an investment comment based on my personal beliefs or is it my professional beliefs? If that
Mm.
helps.
No, it helps a lot. And I love how you put that. As CIO here at Coplanar, I see motivators that really fall into two main categories. And I thought you did a very good job of pointing them out. You either invest with your head or with your heart.
Wow.
Most investors really flow that way. I love your description of the fact that you say in your personal life, you invest like a 19-year-old where you just follow your passion, you go. And that's the investment that's done from your heart.
Yeah.
And we all know individuals like that. Think about those people who I invested in this company because I like the company. I invested in this company because I believe in the founder. Like, do you feel the passion around it? And when they
Yeah.
describe it, it makes you want
Happens every day, right? We see
exactly,
that. Yeah.
exactly. And then you tend to have the other side of the equation where you invest very logically with your head,
Mm.
and you look at past performance. You look at the asset managers, how many assets do they have under management? What do the stats say? What is the analysis? This is what we typically see on TV. Most of the firms say, "Hey, you can trust us because look at what we have done."
Right.
Those decisions are made logically and usually come from the head. And so we see both of those. And so it's interesting, Doug, how you describe that in your professional life, you're very much an investor with your head, but in your personal life, you move with passion. And it's not something that you see in everyone. Why do you think you kind of have that dynamic?
Yeah, that's it's I think because part of it is I don't take the facts too seriously because it really doesn't matter what happened in May. That isn't going to assure me anything in October.
Mm,
And I see and have seen for 40 years that the perception that it really does.
mm.
And of course you have to have an investment thesis. And I mean, I get it, but I think where the Lord has been leading me is there's another alternative out there for investors. And I think that's where we're going to be really starting to focus and build our audience of investors down this path of, you know, the head has its place, the heart has its place, but boy, there's a merger of those two that can be very, very compelling. And we're looking forward to sharing that because it's the transformational aspect that can happen when you do it.
Yeah, yeah, and I think we didn't just fall upon this. Doug described to you guys his investment experience. And I think both him and I, since we founded Coplanar Capital, we've kind of been seeing a shift in the things that are motivating people to invest, So when things happen in the market or when environmental things pop up or social things pop up, those tend to change the motivating factors for people with their investing. And so, Doug, can you just tell us a little bit about some of the new motivators that you are seeing that are really driving investors?
Yeah, I think with the volatility that's happened in the marketplace, kind of the tried and true and what's happened in the past has been put to the test for a lot of investors. And so I think that that's an exciting arena that we can have this sort of dialogue in there about helping viewers understand what camp they're lying in. Is it head or is it heart? And if I had a little more heart, would it help the head, and vice versa? Um, so I think that there is. Well, I'm going to ask you the question: is
Mhm.
there a downside, in your opinion, to whether you invest with your head or your heart? I mean, are you seeing that?
You know, I wouldn't say, you say is there a downside? I think the question we should all ask ourselves, should we just keep doing the same thing?
Ooh, wow.
And how is that working out for us, right? Using the same methods that we've always used to invest, whether that's with our head or with our heart. Sometimes we get good performances, sometimes we have bad performances. I think you see those throughout. I can think of a number of stories, that you and I have experienced together and that I've experienced alone where when I invested with my head, it worked out or it didn't work out. And so the question I have begun asking myself is, am I actually being fulfilled
There you
by
go.
investing using those same methods?
Yeah.
You know, am I winning a small battle but losing the ultimate war of my purpose in life and what I actually want to accomplish? So I think where I would challenge our listeners is it's not, is it better to invest with my head or is it better to invest with my heart? The question I think you need to ask yourself is, are you ultimately being fulfilled with doing things
Hmm.
the same way? Or are you called to do more?
Yeah, I think that if we really did a heart check on our audience, we'd find a lot of people feeling empty, confused, and frustrated, regardless of what their value in their portfolio is or what it may have performed. I I use the phrase a lot, and you'll hear it a lot in our discussions. I think there's more.
Mhm.
I think there's more.
Mhm.
Do you have an example? You talked about the moving away from the way that it's always been done. Do you have any personal story or any sort of color you can add around that idea or concept for the viewers?
Yeah, I do. And this is actually not an investment story. This is just
Hmm.
a story that my wife is going to, I don't know if she's going to be happy that I shared it with you, but I think it's going to help us all. So my wife's family is a very conservative family, and they have always believed in Toyota. Toyota is a great
Ah.
brand, right? Toyota, you buy a Toyota, you get a reliable car that is going to run forever. So several years ago, my wife, it was time for her to get a new car. In her heart, she really wanted a Mercedes. She's always wanted a Mercedes, and she really wanted to get a Mercedes. But in her head, the logical thing to do was to get a Toyota Camry. They weren't expensive, it's going to run forever. And my wife is a thinker, so this fit perfectly
Wow.
inside of her comfort zone.
Right car for the right price with the
Exactly. They're
right
going to get
time
a
frame.
Camry. It's going to run forever. And she would fit right in with all of her family. So we went out and we bought a Toyota Camry. Then I remember this like it was yesterday. We turn on the news like 3 weeks later,
Yeah.
3 weeks later.
Yeah.
And this was the year that Toyota recalled all of the Camrys because they had an issue with acceleration, right? So my wife made the decision with her head. All of the past performance metrics said she made the right decision. But 3 weeks after we bought the Toyota Camry, what is the car you should not own right now?
Wow.
A Toyota Camry.
Wow.
And so we
Wow.
went through the whole process of having to get, another car and exchanging that Camry. And she did end up with the Mercedes, and she actually was very fulfilled with that car. And we actually we had it for a long time. So
Wow.
that's my experience of, even if you're, making a decision from your head or your heart,
Right.
sometimes it works for you,
Yeah.
and then sometimes it doesn't. We tend to believe, excuse me, that our comfort zones are going to make us happy and they're always going to be fulfilling. But I think if all of us stop and think, there are several times where doing something within your comfort zone has actually just led to problems.
Yeah.
It doesn't always remain comfortable.
Yeah. Well, and we've mentioned it before, and we'll continue to mention it, that comfort is a lot like humility, that once you feel comfortable,
Mhm.
it continues to narrow and
Yeah.
push in, so that shrinking comfort zone also is very, very prevalent in investors. So that's where, again, if you're feeling the emptiness, you're feeling confused, you're feeling in the place of frustration that your investments could be doing more, you're in the right place. DR Dialogue is here for you.
Yeah.
So if it's not the head or the heart, I mean, tell me, man, what is the alternative out here that you try and employ as you act as chief investment officer, putting forth investment decisions on the behalf of your clients?
Yeah. So what I have found is I have to actually start with my identity, right?
Yeah.
You're asking me all of these investment questions, and I'm giving you different answers, but I believe the audience will understand why we're headed there. If you start with your identity, why were you placed on this earth? What were you created to do? And all of your actions follow that identity, that's where you actually begin transformation.
Yeah.
And that's
So
where
good.
you're actually fulfilled. If you just stick with your head or you stick with your heart, you're going to have ups and downs. And we don't always react well to those ups and downs. But when you know that you're moving in your identity and how you were created and why you were created, you will still be able to navigate even when you're having ups or you're having downs.
Right.
And I have found that that is much more fulfilling than sticking with just my head or just my heart.
Yeah. Yeah. There's that phrase that I've heard recently is there's a consequence to yes. So
Mhm.
changing from the way that it's always been done, making a break from the Toyota family loyalty that we've had for years, breaking away from that can be a place where you feel either scared or unprepared. And Quentin and I are absolutely convinced that when you start investing using your identity in addition to the head and the heart, but when you're investing with your identity, despite being unprepared or despite being scared, we're walking the road with you. We're walking it there. And when that's who you are, that's when you're going to find the fulfillment, satisfaction, and real joy in your investing portfolio without taking yourself too seriously or spending way too much time on something that's not required.
Mm. Yes, I totally agree. Totally agree. I want to really encourage everyone that you were made for more
Wow.
than playing it safe.
Yeah.
The way we've all typically done things and the way we are trained, there's always something more. And once you start to tap into that more, better money will start to be unveiled to you. I
Ooh,
just
yeah,
really want to encourage you with that today.
that's so good. That's so good. I would ask you if there's any final thoughts or questions, but boy, I'd be remiss if we didn't end on that note. That is real riches there, and I just think that we've got a lot more to discuss, a lot more to unpack, and a lot more ideas that we can percolate through this conversation. And I know that there are others that want to start joining us in this dialogue as well. So until next time.
This is DR Dialogue, where conviction drives change so your money can do better.
Thank
See you
you.
soon, guys.
See you soon.